Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest in the ValuesJam guest session series. Alice, brilliant to have you here. And to kick off, please introduce yourself and tell everybody about the great work that you do.
Thank you, Alan. My name's Alice, and I co-run an organisation called Wild Purpose. And we're all about bringing younger and older generations together through different programs so that they can learn about themselves and others and be in nature and nature to be the classroom. So we're running a co-mentoring program at the moment in the community, and that involves matching younger and older generations, and they complete together some personal development, personal growth activities. So it's open to anyone. So it's younger is less than 35 and older is older than 35. And people are matched together and they're paired up for 6 sessions, and the sessions can take place over 3 months. Currently, we're running it in Brighton and Hove, but we also do have some people working on it in London as well. So if you're interested in finding out a bit more about Wild Purpose, then you can either go to Wild Purpose, that's WILD Purpose, PURPOSE.org, or find us on Instagram, which is wild.purpose. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Alice. And would you mind sharing a little bit of where the inspiration for this came from?
Sure. Well, Wild Purpose is run by three females. We're all we do our own sort of work. We work in youth research. We do sort of mentoring. We do coaching. We do facilitation, and we met and we kind of came together with our passion for mentoring. Really, we particularly wanted to run a program which was based around reciprocal mentoring, away from the traditional mentor and mentee dynamics. So we really kind of met up three ladies with a bit of a mission to see what we could do with the program.
Right, okay. And I love intergenerational conversations anyway. They're just so interesting. And I'll tell you a little story about something that happened quite recently. So a colleague of mine explained that she was going to make afternoon tea for her neighbor. This is in the US. Because her neighbor was in her 80s and she had not too long ago lost her husband. So Francesca Donlan decided that she was going to do an afternoon tea. So as we were talking, I said, "Hey, I've got this idea. How about you choose a card at random from the Values Jam card deck, and when you go and have afternoon tea with the lady, you explain to her what we did and tell her what the card is and have a bit of a conversation around it." And she said, "Oh, I think that's a really good idea." So we chose a card at random, and it was when I showed it, it was balance. And Francesca got all a bit nervy and she said, "Oh, I'm not so sure I feel comfortable actually, because she's elderly and maybe thinks that I'm thinking she's frail or whatever." Anyway, she overcame that kind of concern and told me that when she shared balance, the conversation actually went to how this lady was striving and sometimes was challenged to achieve a balance with her children, in that she didn't want them helping her all the time because she wanted her independence, but she did need some help sometimes.
Mm.
And she was explaining how, sometimes she doesn't think she gets the balance right. She's too dependent on them. Other times they think she's just being stubborn and pig-headed.
Mm.
And it was fascinating for both of us actually to, that kind of preconception of what the conversation was going to be about versus what materialized. So do you get that quite a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we've the big thing that we hear a lot from people is around sort of cliches or narratives around older people and also younger people. Particularly in the workplace, there's a lot of narratives around younger people being lazy or work shy or older people being technophobes. And I suppose what we're kind of trying to do is get people to really understand from both sides, different perspectives, life perspectives, what's important to people, older and younger, to break down a lot of those cliches or narratives that people hold.
Yeah. And the other thing I guess that will come through quite a lot is this: we underestimate um, what we know sometimes. So I remember the first, in a document where you have the link embedded in a word. The first time I saw that, which was probably about 10 years ago, somebody did it and I thought, oh my God, that is so magical and impressive. They must be so talented to be able to do
Mm,
that.
mm.
And then you get shown how to do it and it's just dead easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So there must be loads of that goes on.
There's loads of that. And there's a lot of sort of sharing moments as well, sharing passions. So we've had a pair that have gone to exhibitions together, art exhibitions, sharing something that they didn't know that they shared on initial sort of meeting, but then through the program they've sort of shared their love of art and they've gone off and done that and continue to do that.
That's great. So I'm going to empty the card deck out, the ValuesJam cards now, and give them a bit of shuffle. And while I'm doing that, if you just have a think about how many piles would you like me to make in front of me?
Okay, I go for three, please.
Three, okay. So they're different sizes. And so pile one is on my left and pile three is on my right. So which number pile would you like?
Number one.
Number one, okay. And we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 16 cards. So a number between 1 and 16.
Eight.
8. Okay. So the card that you've drawn is family. And the first question I'd like to ask you is, what does family mean? And what does it look, feel, and sound like?
Interesting question. Well, immediately that comes into my head is my immediate family, which is my husband, myself, and my son, who's 5 years old. And the other day we were on holiday. We were in Devon. We're having a lovely kind of holiday at Easter, and my son referred to us as my tiny family. And I thought that was just lovely. And I'm quite happy to be in a tiny family. So yeah, my immediate family, I think that comes to. But then obviously the offshoot of family is my wider family, which would be my brother and my mum. And then my brother's recently had a baby, who is now 6 months old. So that family starts to kind of get bigger and take on a different web or network, I suppose.
Yeah. And
But
it's,
also, I suppose coming to mind, family doesn't necessarily mean blood relations either. So
yeah.
I feel that people I work with, so Karen and Kat at Wild Purpose, we feel like a little family. I suppose we share lots of moments and good and bad. And it's family is people that you feel close to, which is funny because sometimes you don't feel close to people in your actual blood family. But yeah, so that's the only other thing that's I'd say. It doesn't necessarily have to be blood related.
Yeah, it's you're opening up quite a few different things here for me. So oh, I need to ask you, where in Devon did you have your holiday?
We went to Dawlish.
Oh, okay. I was brought up in Plymouth, so I know
Ah,
Devon quite
yeah,
well, which is lovely
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
And I love that your son calling it your tiny family. It sounds like you got a tiny work family as well.
yeah, exactly. And also something about the number three for me. So,
Yeah. And then the another thing that you've kind of touched on there, this thing around the extent of the family, and you started to talk about your immediate and close family, and then more extended family. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking there is often quite a contrast between the way that you kind of get on with those that are really close to you and those that are not so close family members. And like you say, often you can either almost be strangers,
Mm,
or even worse than that, not really not get on with
mm,
people.
mm,
Um, and I've often found it quite strange that people seem to believe that there's something about being in the same family that means you have to get on,
mm.
which is totally illogical, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know some friends that don't feel like that with their siblings, so
Oh, really?
mm, yeah, yeah.
I wonder where that comes from. Because at the weekend I just went to see my eldest son, who's living in Bristol with his partner. They moved there not too long ago, and I've three other children, and they get on like a house on fire.
Mm,
It's so brilliant to see them individually, but also together. And yet, like you've said, some siblings just
mm,
don't get on at all. And I
mm,
wonder what that's all about, where that comes from. I suppose it
mm.
must be a variety of different things that happen.
Yeah, I can imagine. I suppose just because you are in the same family doesn't mean that you have the same values or the same aligned in the same way or the same ethos on life. And I suppose that must get in the way.
Yeah, and I remember this wasn't very long ago. I can't really remember who this was, but I do remember it was a guy. Why I'd remember that, I don't really know. But what he said was he was talking about his son and his daughter and how his son was a bit of a wild rebel and his daughter was good as gold, steady job and all that sort of stuff. And he was saying, and I'm just confused because I brought them up exactly the same.
Mm. Exactly. Yeah. You can't, it's unexplained, really.
And what about the metaphor part of that question then? So
Mm.
when you think of the word family, what do you think? Well, what images come to mind? What sounds come to mind? And what feelings come to mind?
Mm. Um, things like warmth, caring, um, supportive, um, fun. Yeah, things like that.
Okay. And for me, images, what comes to mind is kind of younger people and older people having a good, smiling, having a good time, or
Mm.
feeling good together. The sound is chatter. This like when you go into a room and there's a load of people from a family and they're all talking. In fact, Jack's partner M yesterday, she's from Italian heritage, and she was explaining that when her family are together, it's like a scene out of The Sopranos or something like that, because she said everybody is talking, often over each other.
Mm. Mm.
1 minute it'll be screaming an argument in the corner, and then 2 minutes later they're going to be laughing and hugging together and all of that sort of
Mm.
thing. So she painted this real great picture of family and all of the kind of rainbow of emotions that go on in a family. The other feeling I would add, it's kind of linked to your one of caring, I think, is this thing about I've got your back.
Mm.
Looking out
Mm.
for other people in your family, and if something needs to be done, you take care of them. Um, and interesting what you were saying about the workplace, actually. Earlier you said it's people that you're close to, and that made me think of the word personal.
Mm.
And in the workplace setting, I've always sought to put in place a kind of business family kind of
Mm.
vibe.
Mm.
So not totally organized,
Mm.
a bit more on the personal side, and deliberately use that phrase business family,
Mm.
because I remember saying to an HR director once, you wouldn't give your son a written warning, would you? So
No. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that chimes with me actually. We are fortunate to work with a student over the summer at Wild Purpose, and she'll be joining us. And we're very much seeing her as a collaborator and part of the family. And actually, that's something that's really important to us, though, that we work together. And she's a good fit. She feels like she's a good fit, but we feel like she's a good fit, and it's part of the family. Yeah.
And that makes perfect sense. That you'd want that kind of connection with people in a workplace setting. So why do you think it's so rare?
Um, I think often in a workplace setting, people don't give each other time or enough time to really get to know each other. Often in a workplace setting, it's all very much about getting the job done, and in some workplaces, it's incredibly stressful. There's either money's got to be made or something's got to be done quickly, or um, I'm thinking in different sectors really. So there's not much time to get to know each other and then therefore understand each other.
Yeah, I think you're dead right, and I suggest that that's actually magnified now with sort of hybrid working and that sort of thing, because when everybody was together in the office, you'd be walking between meeting rooms, for instance, or you'd be at the coffee machine or passing people in the corridor or in the lift or whatever. Whereas now I hear a lot of time people talking about how they just go from one Zoom call to another and that's the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the chance of that personal connection is diminished quite significantly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And silly little things like I'm only thinking right now in like an office setting, you might hear someone on the phone talking to their friends or family. You hear different aspects of their life being spoken about, and you don't get that. You don't get that. Everyone's very much working in silos.
Yeah. And I've got a bit, this relates to ValuesJam actually, because I've got two things, I suppose. One is a theory and the other is a hope. So my theory is that, that stuff that we talked about earlier about how when everybody's together in the office, relationships develop quite naturally because we're social beings, right? Um, and as a result of that, there's more collaboration, probably more innovation, more collective productivity. And the organization benefits very well out of that. But it
Yeah.
actually has to do nothing in
Yeah.
order for that to happen.
Yeah.
So, my theory is that leaders will need to replace that consciously going forward.
Mm.
And my hope is that Values Jam will be one of those tools that they can do. So imagine if there was a company with hundreds or even thousands of employees, and it was explained to help you develop those connections. All we want you to do is have a Values Jam once a week with anybody anywhere in the organization. It can be in your location, in your function, or different function, different,
Mm.
anybody. And then the organization would need to make some choices about whether they collected data out of that or if they just, let it go. But what are your thoughts just hearing that for the first time in terms of some sort of an idea to encourage connection?
I think it sounds like a great idea because I'm always one for using quite sort of creative activities to bring people together. What I like about Values Jam is the questions are very open and you can answer them in any way. They don't seem, there's sometimes you get questions to use in various mentoring programs, say that I've either participated in or been part of. And sometimes the questions are quite sort of cliched. But I
Yeah,
think these questions are, you can share anything. You could share a story. You could share something, what that means to you. It's very open. So I imagine it working very well.
yeah. And this is it's not supposed to turn into an advert for values.
No, but it does. It does. It sounds like it's a good idea, I think. Yeah, really good idea.
All right, so let me ask you another question. Let's get really practical now. So this
Okay.
question is, where have you noticed a lack of a family feeling?
Hmm. That's quite hard. I mean, the workplace for some people, but you mean for me personally, where I've noticed?
Either that you've been involved in or that you've observed or somebody's told you about, anything.
Yeah, I would say more probably what people have told me about. So I've heard from quite a few young adults that they don't feel like they're part of a family. They might be lucky to have a family themselves that they feel close to, but outside of that, they might not feel like they have much of a family. And I suppose it's that close group of people that you trust, um, feel comfortable with, want to connect to. And I think a lot of young adults at the moment are really struggling with that. There's a lot of loneliness, there's a lot of people being on their own, being part of a group. And I suppose that's the immediate thing I thought of was actually, and then on the flip side of that, we've got older generations living alone, or living in a situation where they don't feel like they're very connected. So the immediate thought was this lack of connection when you said that.
Yeah. And my mind went straight to the elderly. And imagining a stereotypical person living on their own
Mhm.
and maybe not so mobile, and
Mhm.
so they don't go out a great deal. And it's perfectly conceivable that many days will pass without them actually engaging with anybody,
Yeah,
which is quite sad,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Um, and probably I'm thinking now, well, it might be sad, but with Zoom, there's no excuse.
yeah.
It's kind of why couldn't Harry, who's 90 and not very mobile, be able to get on a call with somebody about something,
Mm,
even something like this. It's like,
sure.
but I don't know to what extent. I would imagine like Age UK and Age Concern and people
Yeah.
like that, they must be doing something like that in this space. Do you know anything about that?
I've only heard of, I don't know the sort of nuances of the program, but I have heard that they do run programs like that to connect. The ones that I do think are fabulous are where like older people's homes are connected with nurseries or schools.
Yeah.
And I think they are fabulous because that's really trying to get a very special relationship. Because in the work I do kind of young adults, and then older can be anyone in their middle age to right up to older. But this kind of thing that we're talking about, I feel like it's the extreme. So it's the really young with the lot older people coming together, and I think I've read about community programs through HUK and also local ones in Brighton and Hove that do that. I know that my son's nursery used to connect with an older people's home.
Hmm. Well, that's good to hear because it seems that the technology's here, isn't it? If you think it's only pre-COVID that we didn't really do this very much, did
Mm,
we?
mm,
And now it's become such a norm for many people. But I'm curious actually to understand how much it's actually used in other settings. So, for instance, another one is going a bit off topic here, but doctors' surgeries, for instance, it seems to me that rather than people having to traipse along, just have a call like this with GP,
mm,
and even if you can only deal with 50% of the caseload like that,
mm.
at least that's benefiting everybody, I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have heard of more private healthcare offering those services, but not
Mm.
necessarily sort of public through the NHS. My
So
immediate thought, sorry, Alan, I was thinking
that's a,
then about this idea of absence of family, and I think another thing that relates to young adults is the increasing amount of people out of work or education and training. And that again will provide that feeling of lack of family because you're
Yes.
not a lot of young adults not in the workplace, not in an education setting where you might be feeling more of that family unit.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a question mark around where's the line between family and belonging more generally and society and all of that sort of stuff. And it just intuitively, we there's a lot of stuff in the press at the moment around youth mental health and well-being, and also, knife problems, and so many people, young people that have lost their lives over the last couple of years and stuff like this. And I don't know, there's something in me that's saying that we really shouldn't be surprised when it's not such a great place. And particularly as a young male, I wonder how many people just don't have hope. And when you don't have hope, then it kind of encourages certain behaviors that wouldn't necessarily come to the surface if you had more hope.
Mm,
I
mm.
mean, does your work touch that space at all, or not?
I think because we are currently with 18 plus year olds, the space that does touch more are kind of younger generations of teenagers, I suppose. And a big thing in another aspect of my work that I've done in sort of youth research is not having access to youth clubs and places to go,
Definitely.
and that's a really big one that's a real lack. And I work with people who are youth workers and work for organisations that run youth work, and it's all about trying to raise the profile of youth work now, and fingers crossed the government might be sort of looking at that a little bit more.
Yeah. And going back directly to family, there's the other another driver potentially is the fact that the family unit is not as strong as it used to be. For instance, when I was growing up, more people have experienced families that have split up, either because they're not getting on, or they want to be with somebody else, or because of geographic mobility.
Mm,
And both of those things mean that people have less of a sense of this strong family around them guiding them,
mm,
perhaps.
mm. Um, that really resonated for me when I had my son. He was actually born just just before he was 10 weeks when we went into the first lockdown. And so having a very small child, my mum lives not in Brighton, she lives away. We didn't have immediate family in our local area, and that really, we really felt that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Hmm. Okay, so now with Values Jam, there's actually an opportunity for you to create your own question. So let's give that a go. And if it's a question that you have the answer to, then please feel free to share that immediately. Or if it's more of a question that you're curious about and you'd like me to have a go first and then you respond, we can do it that way. So ask your own question about family, beginning with who, what, where, when, why, or how.
Okay. Ooh. Something along the lines of what do you see as the benefits of having a family versus some drawbacks?
Whoa, okay. And so are you talking personally now rather than in a business?
Probably, I think it's probably safer to put it more in the third person. So, kind of like in society, what do we see as the benefits and drawbacks of having a family?
Oh, okay. Oh, now I think I'm going to find that even that more difficult
Harder.
than to answer personally because um, so for instance, I heard that there are, I think there's a phrase for this, but there are young people who are choosing not to have children because they don't want to, two reasons. I think there's two separate things. One is they think it's bad for the planet, so they're choosing not to. And then the other is that they don't want to bring a child into this world that is not so great. And so two separate things. Um, but then I think back, I remember when I was having my family and we didn't really plan at all. And our kind of approach was, well, in Victorian times, they had like 10 kids and they didn't have loads of money, but they found a way to get by. So, let's see what
Mm.
happens.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So, and the benefits, to try and answer your question more directly, the benefits, so if I think of my kids, like I was saying earlier, I think it must be amazing to have siblings that you're that close to that you can probably benefit from their experience, the mistakes they've made, enjoy their successes. Um, and I've got one sister, but we're not particularly close, partly because of geography and partly because we kind of went in different directions. When I went to university, she didn't, that sort of thing. Um, and I think I would like to be closer to siblings, that kind of feeling. The disadvantages, again, thinking back to when my kids were growing up, I guess sometimes you just don't want your siblings knowing all your business.
Mm. Yeah.
So there's some as a starter. What about you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back. I'm gonna go on the disadvantage first, I suppose.
Okay.
Disadvantages, I suppose it's related to what you just said about not wanting to know sort of other people's business. It's actually once you know it, you're kind of taking it on board. So actually, there's a kind of could be like a bit of a weight that comes with family, as
Yeah.
in other people's sort of well, positive things and negative things. But there's other people's stories, other people's emotions. I suppose your disadvantage is that you're potentially open to all of that. Yeah, yeah. And a disadvantage, noisiness,
Oh, yeah.
hecticness,
Yeah. So
sometimes want a bit of me time.
are there any benefits for you?
I was only doing two disadvantages. No, benefits. No, benefits absolutely outweigh the drawbacks. The benefits are all around similar to what we was talking about, I think, which is just about a unit. That's, I think, for me, a unit, feeling comfortable to be myself, happy, being surrounded by people that I love, and having that connection and having a laugh. I think all of those things are incredibly important. I feel very lucky to have that.
Yeah. And one more that comes through to me is a confidant, somebody
Mm,
that you're that close to that you can share anything. You know they're not going to judge you for it.
yeah.
They're not going to give you like the parent advice line, but it's like this problem shared,
Mm,
problem halved kind of thing.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And what about when you've experienced a real strong family feeling?
Mm. Yeah, I think that's got to be my wedding day. So I was married in 2022, and I've been with Mike for 13 years. So We were together a bit of time before we got married. We wanted to have a party. We had like a nice ceremony, but it was quite simple. But really, the family feeling was at the party, and that family, thinking about people there, was made up of close family members, more distant family members, lots of friends, lots of children. So lots of different ages, lots of people from different areas, from Mike's side, my side, and having, yeah, warmth and love in the room, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that you. So did you say it's quite small?
Yeah, I mean, it was relatively small in terms of a lot of people's weddings. It was quite simple. We had like a function room at a pub, and we just had a really good party, really.
Well, I know I'm smiling because my wedding was, I think the wedding breakfast was for 22 people. So like you were saying, just really close family.
Mm.
Best man was my best friend from university. And then the following day we had a party for friends. So that was kind of the friend thing, and but the family thing was just really close. So I know exactly what you mean. And this is not to criticize because people make their own choices, but I've never fully understood the big wedding thing.
Mm.
And the simple reason is that I've never understood how you can actually spend time with all of those people on the day.
No,
And so
no.
it just doesn't make sense in there.
No, not at all. No, and for me, it kind of goes a bit hand in hand of everything being a little bit over the top and spending a lot of money on everything. And I just think you don't need that. So the family feeling came to me with something quite simple, but it was people coming together and celebrating on that day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's the that's what creates those two different types of occasions. So you just said a family celebration is one, and then this kind of event
Mm.
is another, and that has its own different vibe.
Mm.
And I used to be in commercial hospitality management, and one of the places I ran was a big wedding venue. So I've seen, very fancy weddings, which are
Mm.
great, and we used to deliver them very, very well. But it's this thing for me about, well, where's that personal connection thing going
Yeah.
on? Um, Okay. And let's go really big now in the
Okay.
world.
Okay.
So how could more of a family feeling make the world better?
Mm. Yeah. I feel that it's about trying to maybe connect, be better at connecting with other members of your community. And if we were all doing that in the world on very smaller scales, then the whole world would have a warmer feeling of family. Um, and I think if we were better at making more of an effort to come together as a community, definitely get off Zoom. Um, and that might be something really small, like having a cup of tea with someone. It might be making something with someone, something arty crafty. It could be gardening. It could be lots of different activities, or it could be just going for a walk. But I do think teaming up with members of your community, getting to understand and hear about people in your community, must have a greater impact across the globe.
Yeah, and I would love that to happen because it this is a little bit of a hobby horse of mine actually because I use a metaphor of a couple of aliens in a spaceship above our planet, right? And they're looking down. And one says to the other, this lot seem to be creating quite a lot of wealth. Look at all of that that's happening over there. And the other one says, yeah, but they seem to be wasting quite a lot of what they're creating over there. And by the way, look over there. Um, there's people that are dying because they haven't got enough food or clean water or medicine. And the first one says, yeah, you're right. Shall we report back that there's no intelligent life form here and continue our search? And that what that's kind of saying is if we are a family of humanity, and we know that we have enough resources on our planet for everybody, and yet not everybody, and the key word for me here is dignity, not everybody on this planet has a life with dignity.
Mm.
And why are we doing that?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think not everyone has the view that we are all one of humanity. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of division, more and more so, you could argue now,
Yeah.
looking at difference and division, but actually maybe having a bit more of a philosophy to say that we are one big family of humans might help with that.
Mm. And it's again, I'm really curious about why. So I agree with you that we do tend to focus more on our differences and also at all levels, actually, to be quite self-centered, whether that's as an individual or whether it's part of a workplace, for instance, or part of a nation, for instance. It's kind of, and recently we've heard this rhetoric from the US and the UK, look after yourself first,
Mhm.
and all of that. And yet that feels kind of short-sighted and potentially dangerous because what surely we're all human.
Mm. Yeah, I think what's happening, I mean, I can only kind of have a UK lens on this because I haven't lived elsewhere, but I think in the UK what's happening right now is that there are certain communities, certain people are really struggling. They're struggling for even, being able to feed themselves or have a home over their heads. And if that's the case, then that is the prime focus, is
Yeah.
to do that first. Because if you come back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you need shelter and you need food. And so people are having to do that first. And so everyone else, you end up being more blinkered because you have to fight to get that.
Yeah, I completely understand. I agree with you, and I understand those people that you've cited as having to look after themselves. So for me, it's the people that have more than enough
Mm.
and are not actually doing anything about it.
No.
And it's this more general thing around we seem to have an attitude of accumulation of wealth in itself as being something that is to be admired for some reason,
Mm. Mm.
instead of putting it to good use.
Mm.
So that kind of doesn't sit very well, or I don't really understand it. But I think going back to that self-centeredness, in society we've kind of created systems that feed that.
Yeah.
Um, so whether it's what are some examples? Even at school, for instance, your school time is spent on yourself to get the best grades.
Yeah.
And so, is it a surprise that when people come out of the school system, they're all about personal achievement before anything else? Whereas, imagine if one of the 5 days that you were at school, you had to work with others or put into the community or do something like that. I wonder how different people would turn out after, 11 years of that kind of approach.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, this is things that I'm obviously very interested in, and th two things came to mind really then. One is that we're finding when we're talking with young adults that they're not then they're focused at school in the education system so much, like you say, on achievement, but in achievement of a particular subject, not around understanding what's important to them. So often there's absolutely zero space to even give any time or thought around what's important to you. So that's why values in this setting is really important for the work we do as well. And actually taking time out to do that, to explore what makes you tick, what is really important to you. Something that the education system currently definitely are not supporting young people to do. Um, and then the other thing I immediately thought of was education system being very hierarchical. Um, and the idea of going back to, I suppose, community and looking out for each other is to be able to operate in a space that's non-hierarchical. And we're often not given that opportunity. Everything's normally very hierarchical.
Oh, that's an interesting. So my immediate thought was, oh, hold on, families are very hierarchical because, mum and dad rule the roost kind of thing. But I suppose there's something about a benevolent dictatorship hierarchy, isn't there, where
Mm,
they intentionally they have your best intention, not always putting it into practice as teenagers see it, for instance.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, with other organizations, institutions, for instance, you certainly don't get the feel that they're looking after anybody, actually. It's just feeding the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think in a family, obviously we've got hierarchy, but I think family, education, work, all of those things are making young people feel that they're constantly in, I suppose, situations of authority.
Yeah,
Whereas if you think about more getting together in the community, you're
yeah,
kind of like evening out that. Um, and hopefully the idea, I suppose, is to learn about others, um, so that you do feel not judged and you feel open to talk about things, away from this hierarchy. So I suppose families can be non-hierarchical. It's just the traditional model that we've been operating in is very hierarchical.
yeah. Oh, I think that's a really good kind of teaser for people to bring our values jam to a close, to be just thinking there about families and community and organizations and how different parts of society could actually improve other parts of society by learning from each other in some way. Um, Good thought. So, to bring the Values Jam to a close, there's always a final question, which is, what are you encouraged to do differently about family as a result of this conversation today?
Mm. Um, I think it's quite a simple one. Spend more time with my tiny little family.
Okay. And if I could just ask you to think about how you might put that into practice in a very simple way at the first opportunity, what does that look like?
I think it looks like having a day probably at the weekend where we just all together and we're going to go out and do something fun that we all enjoy. It means not picking up your phone. It means being focused on each other and and supportive and open and having fun. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned your son, but what's his name? Your 5-year-old?
Jack, which I just noticed that your son's called Jack.
Yeah, that's right. Goodness me. So I'm just wondering whether Jack might be the person that you ask to help plan this family time on either coming Saturday or Sunday.
That's a really nice idea. Yeah. And he does always ask, well, what are we doing? What are we doing on the
Oh, there we
weekend?
go
So
then.
I'll
All right.
turn it round and say, right, Jack, what are we doing?
Well, again, this is a bit spooky. So this, sorry, last year I started to have a different approach to birthdays for my kids. So what I decided was that I wanted to spend time with them doing something that they enjoyed doing, and it didn't have to be at the time of their birthday. It can be anything. So my eldest daughter, Lucy, she's got Jacob, who's 5, and 2-year-old twins. So they're very, very busy. She enjoys creative writing. And so when I was asking her about, I'd like to spend time with you doing something you enjoy doing, she said, well, actually, Dad, I want to put all of my spare time energy into creative writing, and I like to do that alone. So what we've decided to do, we're going to, um, oh, there's a beach on the south coast near to Rye. Can't
Canvas Sands?
Amber Sands. That's it. So we're going there for the weekend at the end of this month. And the deal is, oh, Jacob's coming with us, and somebody else is looking after the twins. I'm going to spend the mornings with Jacob on the beach and exploring and stuff like that. His mum's going to do her writing, and then we'll come back lunchtime ish, and then we'll spend the rest of the day and early evening together. So, similar to what you were saying, I'm going to start thinking about the plan or the planned things. I've already definitely going to take a cricket bat for French cricket on the beach.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good one when the tide's out. It's huge, that beach.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So that's it. You're a qualified values jammer now. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Alan. I've really enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.